May the Lord give this council the wisdom, discernment and courage to serve the community. Grant also that we may act compassionately and with integrity in the best interest of this Shire. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. I would like to show respect and acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land, the elders past, present and future on which this meeting takes place. This meeting is being recorded and those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statements. There are no other recordings of this meeting prior without authorisation. Thank you, councillors. Just before I start, may I welcome Glenn Inglis to his first interim GM at the Upper Hunter Shire. Welcome, Glenn, and thank you for your support. Councillors, apologies.
Mr. Mayor, I have one from Councillor Brown, who's out of the Shire work business.
Got a mover. No other apologies? Okay, move Councillor Fisher. Second, Councillor Driscoll. All in favour? Against? Carried. Public participation.
Mr. Mayor, I have there's been one application for the public participation section. It's from Monique Eunice, who's the representative of McDonald's Australia Limited, and it's to do with item SCR 08.2 or DA 50/2020, which is the development application, which is in the infrastructure committee meetings. It's usually proper that I read that out due to the COVID constraints. The council is happy for me to do that. And I do believe there's a copy that we sent you. Okay, dear councillors, in normal circumstances, we would be present in the chamber to address council directly. However, in respect to the current COVID situation, McDonald's fully encourages COVID-safe practices and are happy to provide this statement. At the Council's Development and Environmental Service Committee meeting, it was resolved to defer the application to give us the opportunity to address the issues that have been raised. Following this, a supplementary planning assessment was circulated to the councillors last week. This respectively requested that council consider a variation to the proposal to include the permanent extension of trading hours for the period from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. This updated request requires no physical works as per the original DA. Given the reduced trading request and the associated reduction in potential impacts, we are confident that the council's requirements for public notification under the Upper Hunter DCP have been fulfilled. Re-notification of the application is not obligated by council. The updated proposal is a positive reduction in potential impacts raised by the community, and therefore re-notification will be unnecessary and an inefficient use of time. The reduced trading request is a response to community concerns, with the variation considered to alleviate previously raised potential issues. McDonald's have been trading the additional hour between 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. under the Environmental Planning and Assessment COVID-19 Development Extender Operation Order 2020 since the 13th of July. During this period, no complaints have been received. This has provided additional employment opportunities for crew members at the Scone operation and is proving successful. We look forward to being able to continue to work with you to offer this level of service to the community. Once again, thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to our ongoing relationship with Upper Hunter Shire Council. Yours sincerely, Monique Eunice, on behalf of McDonald's Australia.
Thank you for that. Okay, councillors, we'll move on to point 5, the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 27th of July and the next extraordinary council meeting held on the 3rd of August. Got a mover? Move Councillor Driscoll, second Councillor Burns. Any questions, comment, discussion?
Yes,
Councillor Abbott?
Mr. Mayor. Yes, on page 2 of the minutes, I objected to the item for the Development and Environment Committee meeting. So it says that it was carried unanimously, but I actually objected to that. On page 5, I just wanted to ask, I didn't ask in the last meeting if it would be possible to provide my report from the Melbourne Climate Emergency conference that I went to. And so I'm just querying that because that was something that I raised at the last meeting and it's not in these papers. And then on page 11, the Building Assets Management Plan. We haven't been provided with that yet, have we? Just wanted to raise that. And on page 14, again, I voted against the airport one. There's one of them, yes, it says I was against. It was the one CR 07.1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Abbott. You take all those on notice. Thank you. No more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Disclosure of interest. Mr. GM.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I have two written conflict of interest lodgements. One from Councillor Burns for item SCR 083. Declaration being that his principal residence, I gather, will be affected by the issue. And I think Councillor Burns has nominated to leave the room and not participate in the discussion. The second one is from Councillor Abbott. It's in fact the same item, SRC 0803. Just trying to read the writing.
I do apologise. Did you want me to just quickly
Yes,
summarise?
that'd be wonderful.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
really sorry. So for both of them, the Moby Road items, the one with respect to the potential village connection eventually, my husband was one of the people who came to council with a few others to ask if it were possible. So that's that reason. And then the other one, because I live on Moby Road, I feel there might be a perception of a conflict of interest if I vote on that one as well. So I've ticked everything, I think, as to the pecuniary and non-pecuniary and non-significant, I think. But I'm going to stay in the room and not vote. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Okay, we'll move on to 7 Merrill minutes. There's nil. 8 reports. Okay, we'll move on to page 1 of the agenda item, the Finance Committee, 08.1. We got a mover.
I'll move that with an amendment, Mr. Mayor.
Move, Councillor Burns.
That we add, so that we have the recommendations 1 and 2, and that we add point 3, investigate an educational program to teach local business and service providers how to tender for Upper Hunter Shire Council projects. It is actually a recommendation later in the paper, but it needs to be in this part here.
We got a seconder for that slight amendment. Councillor Campbell. Any more questions, comment, discussion?
Yes.
Councillor Abbott.
Yes, on page 5, with respect to the workforce freeze, I just wanted clarification regarding the sustainability manager. Do we have a sustainability manager? Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we do. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions, comment, discussion on the finance. All in favour? Against? Carried. Page 8, SCR 08.2, the Development Environmental Services. Moved, Councillor Watts. Second, Councillor Fisher. Questions, comment, discussion? Councillor
Thank you.
Abbott.
Sorry. Yes, just clarification. It's just 1 more hour. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, the applicant is requesting an amendment to the application to extend the trading hours by 1 hour, so from 5 AM to 6 AM rather than 24 hours. But our recommendation is that the application still be deferred to enable that proposed amendment to be put on public exhibition.
Councillor Watts.
I know we don't normally speak on deferments, but I'd just like to say last month council gave McDonald's the courtesy of making reply to what was put on the table by the community. So I think community should have the same respect and be given the opportunity to reply as well for McDonald's letter.
Thank you. No more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 14, SCR 08.3. We've got two interests, Councillor Burns.
Yeah, I'm only out for number 3 though, Mr Mayor, so.
So you want to just deal with
Suggest
them?
we move them one at a time.
Okay then.
And with that, I will move dot point 1.
Point 1. Move Councillor Burns. Councillor Campbell. Any questions, comment on dot point 1?
Yes, with respect to the minutes, I'm just wondering with the questions on page 25, when will they be answered? And 26.
Through the chair, they'll be answered in the next committee meeting, which I believe is on the 8th of September.
And also through you, Mr Mayor, before we get on to 2 other items, this isn't in the minutes, but I was just, and it's not in this infrastructure papers, but I was expecting a report back through the infrastructure committee with respect to the piece of land by the bypass on the western side of the bypass that it has, perhaps is going to come up, or you're having discussions at the moment with Transport for New South Wales for a range of activities, one of them being a community garden. So I'm just wondering, A, where is the report and do we have any further information on that? Thank you.
No further information at this time, but we'll follow up that and present that to a later, I would say the next council meeting.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, dot point 2 on the infrastructure.
Mr Mayor, you didn't put the motion for dot point.
Oh, didn't I? Okay, we've got a mover and a seconder. We had them, so no more question, comment, discussion. All in favour? Thank you. Against? Okay, now dot point 2, we've got a mover.
Yeah, I'll move number 2.
Seconder. Councillor Campbell. Any questions, comment, discussion around 2? All in favour? Against? Carried. That was 2A and B. So now we move on to 3. Councillor Burns will leave and Councillor Abbott will stay in the room. Okay, we're going to move it for 3.
Yeah, I'll so move.
Move Councillor Campbell. Second, Councillor Watts. Any questions, comment, discussion around it?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, it's my understanding that this is an investigation and especially to go towards with the community consultation. My understanding is it's not funded yet. Is that correct? But I do believe that we need to consult with the community to know their wishes before it goes too much further.
You happy with that, Phil?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was a question. No, there isn't funding allocated at the moment in answer to that question. So yeah, we will consult before we progress.
Yeah, no more questions,
Yeah,
comment,
that's
discussion?
fine. Thank you.
All in favour? Against? Carried. Councillor Burns, again. Yeah, Councillor Burns, just for your information, they were passed in the affirmative. Councillors, over to page 27, C08.1, the White Park Management. Move Councillor Fisher. Second, Councillor Burns.
I'll just, with the movers indulgence. The minutes have me as an attendee. I was actually on the call and I am a member of that committee. So if we could have that reflect that.
You happy with that, councillor Fisher? Okay, no more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 32, C08.2 Heritage Advisory Committee. Move councillor Driscoll, second councillor Abbott. Questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott.
Yes, on page 35, has council written to Heritage New South Wales yet, as the committee asked with respect to Murrurundi Hospital? Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, we have. And we're just waiting on a response from the Secretariat of the Heritage Council.
No more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 42.
38, Mr.
38, I've missed one, have I? That'll blame someone. Page 38, C08.3, Scone CBD Revitalisation Committee, councillor Burns.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'll move both these recommendations with an additional point that we accept, that this council accept the resignation of Mr Simon Davis and advertise the position on the committee as soon as possible. Mr Davis has left the council area. He's no longer a member of our LGA, so he can no longer be of use to us. So he's moved on and asked us to accept his resignation.
Thank you, councillor Burns. I've got a seconder on that small change in the recommendation. Councillor Campbell. No more questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott.
Yes, just with respect to the roundabouts and the traffic lights. So the roundabouts, through you, Mr Mayor, they are going to be considered down the track when there's more funding. And I also want to ask, is that the case with the traffic lights? Will we be considering their removal, or will that be going out to the community for consultation as well, given that it was such a debated issue many years ago?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. So the committee's asked to make this a staged approach. So they haven't given up the ghost on the roundabouts in any way, shape or form. However, to give, what's their name this week? Transport for New South Wales, a little bit of certainty. We've said, okay, we'll take a staged approach, and that way they can actually get information back to us on the street treatment, and that was the advice given to us. The traffic lights at this point, they have been retained in their existing position with minor amendments to their logic. And that's what we've recommended. I'm sure in the future, if a big golden pot of money drops out of the sky, we'll probably look at that as a council. However, at this point, it doesn't look like we would be.
Thank you, councillor Burns. Any more questions, comment, discussion?
Sorry, through you, Mr Mayor, are traffic lights expensive to run, or are they less expensive to run? Just bearing in mind what councillor Burns had to say, what would make us reconsider them if they're not on the table at the moment to remove them? Because that was something the community had thought may happen with the Scone revitalisation.
We'll take you on notice, I think, councillor Abbott.
Yeah, I'll take that on notice.
No more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 42, C08.4. Councillor Watts.
Can I amend one be adopted as is, and two, can we change endorse to note, please? So note the committee recommendation that the Scone Library be relocated to the top floor of the Campbell's Corner building, subject to floor loading and all safety requirements, including disability access. So if we just note.
Just note that, councillor. Move councillor Watts, second councillor Burns.
And if I could just speak on it as well.
Yes.
Basically, this is around so that we've got the opportunity, if we do need to make changes at any time to use the bottom floor, we can. If we actually endorse it, we're actually endorsing to do exactly what's written there.
Thank you, councillor Watts. Any more questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott?
Yes, so I understand that. So we're looking at still potentially putting the library on the top floor, but going into on the ground floor, should that opportunity present, in case the roof takes much longer than we thought, so that we do, and I'm just seeking clarification that that's the case.
As far as I'm aware, councillor Watts, that's your meaning? Yes.
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 Thank you. And then just a couple of other things. On page 46, where it says the committee was in disagreement, it was actually the committee disagreed. We weren't in disagreement. We disagreed. So I wonder if that could be changed, please. And then also, we did also mention perhaps we might be able to get in touch with Kevin Hanna when we finally do get into the library on the top floor down the track, or somebody like him who might be able to help us set out a library to its best effect. There is just a couple of other things. Also, I'm just wonder whether, with respect to the meetings, how it was suggested that we met every 6 months, but then the committee didn't agree with that. But I wondered whether, I know it's a really big deal and a big job for the library coordinator organising the meetings, but I wonder whether, I mean, maybe Mr. Pringle might have some thoughts on this, whether the library coordinator actually needs to be at every meeting. Maybe perhaps she doesn't need to be at every meeting. So I don't know whether that's obviously something for council to consider, but we're at this stage, we're still going to meet every 2 months and then go quarterly next year. So, but whether to relieve the burden there. And then my other comment was the Merriwar hours. There's still a real disparity between what they have in terms of library usage and Murrurundi and obviously Scone. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Abbott. You can take all of them on notice, Matt.
I'll take those on notice, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you. No more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 48. C08.5 Merriwar Tourism and Promotion Committee. Move councillor Campbell. Seconder. Councillor Burns. Questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, it was a very good meeting. And in fact, we had quite a number of members of the public come and put forward some of their ideas. It had to be done by Zoom, and we did use the RSL with the particular spacings that we had to adhere to. But there was certainly a lot of good enthusiasm and also ideas. And just for the council to note that on the 9th of this month, that subcommittee that we formed will be meeting with some ideas on the photos, etc., which we would like in the footpath. The footpath, as the minutes suggest, has been decided upon, and Sam Wooden, the engineer, is very keen to start that in January. So we're certainly wanting to adhere to that, and also to provide clear direction in the way in which that we're going to go. So things are moving, and we're very, very pleased. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Campbell. No more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 54. Move councillor Fisher, second councillor Watts. Any questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. To page 58. Request for donations. Move councillor Watts, second councillor Campbell. Questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 62, G08.2. Move councillor Fisher, second councillor Watts. Questions, comment, discussion?
Yes, I have one. Just with the Crown Land classification, that we've been doing a lot of these recently, and just is it possible to get a briefing on how this plays out for Indigenous people and their native title claims? Because I'm not entirely clear on how it all plays out. Is that possible, Mr. Mayor?
You happy with that?
Certainly, Mr Mayor, we can easily, I think probably initially if we prepare a briefing paper and then after that work out what's the best way. Because we've got a lot of information on that, and in fact the Lands Committee meeting last week had quite a comprehensive report, and in fact first up I'd probably send a copy of that report out to all councillors, and that's a really good starting point.
Thank you.
No more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Page 68, G08.3. Move councillor Fisher, second councillor Driscoll. Question, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 72, G08.4, proposed subdivision work certificate fee. Move councillor Burns, second councillor Campbell. Any questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. 75, G08.5, there is attachment there somewhere. No, everyone's read that.
Move that way.
Move councillor Watts, second councillor Campbell. Questions, comment, discussion?
I'd like to talk, please.
Thank you.
I'd just like to mention, I'm the chair of the Scone and Aberdeen Australia Day Committee, and this is where this first came from. We were very aware of, I suppose, the burden that it places on the staff, but also we acknowledge that it's a great way to recognise people across the Upper Hunter Shire on Australia Day. So I've really taken on board the comments, especially in regard to Merriwa and Cassilis. It's great to see that so many people actually spent the time to put forward their wishes. And because of that, they're getting the outcome that they want, which is fantastic. So, I mean, it's certain, what I'm actually saying is for us to get feedback, it's able for us to make an informed decision. So, and we're still going to have our Australia Day as they were because we're listening to what the community's saying.
Yeah, certainly agree, councillor Watts. No more questions, comment, discussion, councillor Campbell.
If I may comment, thank you too. Look, it was certainly very strongly opposed at Merriwa, and the main reason was the fact it was very well supported and we were getting people. And to go to the small town of village of Cassilis and get over 100 people there was really quite, it was a great outcome, and we were consistently getting that feedback also into Merriwa when we alternated. And so it was really something that we are really happy with the outcome. We have no problem with Scone and Aberdeen combining and going ahead with the way they would like it. But this guest speaker that we've had out at Merriwa, there was a comment made that somehow we always seem to get the last one. By gee, we've had some good ones though. They have been really well received. They have enjoyed the time there with us. And it's been just such a great time to celebrate Australia Day. So I do thank you. And also I just may make mention that the chairman of the Australia Day Committee at Merriwa, Arthur, we used to call him Old Art, he passed away last week, and his funeral will be at Cassilis. I'm not sure exactly where, but it'll be 11 o'clock and there will be limited invitations going out. But this Arthur was just such as you probably know, 2 or 3 years ago, he contracted, I'm not sure what sort of cancer it was, but it was a very aggressive cancer, and Arthur just was a great fighter. And in the end, of course, cancer prevailed. But I'd like also for our the council, if I may, take the indulgence to convey our condolences to Edna and the family on behalf of the Upper Hunter Shire Council, if that could be done.
I'm sure that can be done, councillor Campbell. Any more questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Against? Carried. Go to page 83, G08.6. Going to move up. Move councillor Fisher, second councillor Campbell. Any questions, comment, discussion? All in favour? Aye, against, carried. Page 86, G 08.7, the independent review of the Scone Airport development, redevelopment. Move councillor Burns, second councillor Campbell. Questions, comment, discussion?
Yes.
Councillor Abbott.
Thank you. Just wondering, there's no actual mention of the briefing that we had last week with respect to the independent financial review. And I just wonder, I sent an email, was that read out to the people who met? When I sent an email beforehand with my comments on what I thought of the review when I read it. So I was just wondering if that was read out.
The
Did everybody
email,
get-
your
everybody-
questions, did you have questions?
Yes, well, there was more comments.
No, I think the email the councillor should have all received was to have your emails into the director by the day before, and I don't think you've
Okay.
received any.
All right, no, I just wanted to clarify that.
No questions received, no.
No, it wasn't questions, it was just comments. So I just wanted to know that everyone had received my views because I wasn't able to make the meeting because of family commitments. Thank you.
Thank you. So we got a number of questions, comments, discussion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 90, I08.1, renaming of the Junction Bridge Rurikal Community Feedback. You should have to do with the survey there somewhere. Move councillor Driscoll, second councillor Campbell. Any questions, comment, discussion?
I would just like to say this was always problematic. And I'm glad we again listened to all the community submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Abbott. I certainly agree. All in favour? Against? Carried. Over to page 94, I08.2, grant applications. Councillors, you should have another grant application, I08.2, which is now the motion, the recommendation. Have a mover on that recommendation? Councillor Fisher, second. Councillor Burns. Any questions, comment, discussion? Councillor Abbott.
Thank you. Yes, I'm just disappointed that there's no footpaths or cycleways in the proposed projects because they're sorely needed, both of them, particularly footpaths ahead of cycleways. And I received correspondence sent to me from Mr. Thurgood, which I believe he also sent the same correspondence I've received to the General Manager. And he sets out for Scone a couple of issues where he believes that footpaths need to be in two particularly dangerous spots and further traffic review. But I just want to mention, having just walked around Scone just recently delivering flyers, there are a lot of streets without footpaths. We sorely need them. And I don't know how we're going to get them. It does depend on whether the residents are affluent or not. And in some of the areas of Scone or any of the Shire, in fact, the whole Shire, where the affluent streets get the footpaths and the non-affluent ones don't. And I just think it's very disappointing that we haven't considered footpaths and cycleways. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Abbott. And I think dot point 2 on that recommendation, I mean, there will be a workshop from council for the next round, correct? So I really, really urge all councillors to come along to those workshops. If that's the way you wish to head, bring that forward. Any more questions, comment, discussion? No. Councillors, can I just adjourn the meeting for 5 or 10 minutes? We've just got a little issue here. Thank you. Move councillor Watts, second councillor Campbell. All in favour? Against?